Hey,
Hey,
hey!
hey. Welcome,
Woohoo!
everybody. Welcome to night 4 of Met Comedy Night's Summer Comedy Extravaganza, or as we call it in the full name, the stuck inside for 6 more months of Summer Comedy Extravaganza. We are rocking tonight. We are rolling tonight. We are getting ready to tune in to our weekly show here at Met Comedy Night on twitch.tv/Met Comedy Night. That show is one of what will hopefully be a future run of many different weekly shows. But right now, we've got recurring shows and strange times indeed. And of course, Over the Hump on Wednesdays with Steven over here.
Hump, hump,
And so
over the
Steven's our
hump.
technical director here. He's got things rolling. He's ready to launch into this show. But this show, every Thursday night at 9 o'clock, we've got Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. It's an exploration of the bizarre, the strange, the unexplainable in our world. It's a great show where anyone who's watching at home who's experienced something they can't quite explain, they can't quite grasp, they can call in every week. They put the Zoom link in the chat, and folks can call in and share their bizarre and unexplained stories with Cliff McAllister. Isn't that pretty? That sounds like a
Yeah,
pretty cool
it
show.
is really cool. And you know what? Cliff actually told me that he
Mhm.
would love to interpret one of my dreams. So I think I'll have a chance to
Yeah.
talk to him today. I actually went through a dream journal and I found one I think he's really going to like, but I hope he can help me figure out what it's about.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing about this guy, Cliff McAllister. I mean, I produced this show, and I just kind of came across this guy just on the street corner with one of those like the end is nigh signs, and I was like, who is this guy? What's his deal? And we started talking, and I was like, wow, this guy's like into a lot of weird, crazy stuff. Like he should have his own kind of show. And then and he said one time on the air, he was like, not only do I hear your weird stories and put that out to the world as a public service, but I also interpret dreams. He's a modern day Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, this guy.
What's
And
kind of crazy about it too is, instead of letting people tell you any of the strange stories that they might have, you actually tell them to call Cliff now,
yeah,
so that way he could hear them on the air.
yeah, I mean, it's as the producer, it's better that I not know outside of what's happening on the show. It's,
Perfect sense.
you know, it's good to let Cliff hear these things for the first time because his immediate reactions are always like, they're what you want to see. So we do this show comes on. We got Cliff a little studio. We got him access to researchers, to a whole team of people, and they enable him to do this show every week and talk about the weird and strange things in this world.
That's great.
And so we do that every Thursday night, 9 o'clock here on Met Comedy Night, twitch.tv/Met Comedy Night specifically. But we're on Facebook tonight too for the extravaganza,
Hello,
which is a lot
Facebook.
of fun. So hello, Facebook. Welcome to our weird Twitch show. And we're gonna get that going in just a minute. But I gotta say, the extravaganza we've been doing, we're in the 4th night of this. 4 nights of comedy. It's gonna be 5. A full work week of comedy. You get to laugh every night thanks to Met Comedy Night, and more specifically, thanks to the Maryland Ensemble Theater,
This is
which
more
is,
comedy than if the theater was actually open. This is great.
yeah,
We love it.
really the shutdown has enabled us as theater people to work harder than ever. And I specifically mean us, the two of us on this Zoom call.
Oh wow, we've got a
Oh,
haunted
that's a
Halloween
stinky tease.
reaction
That's a
coming up
stinky
from the
tease.
Twitch.
They say, are you being passive aggressive? Gosh, I hope not. I never want to be aggressive. That's the way I am as a human being, passive or otherwise. Um, So, like I was saying, show brought to you by the Maryland Ensemble Theater here on Twitch. So please donate to them. That's what's keeping us alive. That's what's keeping the arts alive in Frederick. You make those donations at marylandensemble.org/donate. I believe the link is in the Facebook description, and if not, I trust you're able to type it in. And by you, I don't mean Steven, I mean you, the viewer. I trust if you got to facebook.com, you can also type in marylandensemble.org/donate. And that's how you can support this show, how you can support Met Comedy Night, how you can support the Maryland Ensemble Theater and keep the arts alive in these trying times. Look, Barefoot and 52, Stephen, every night during this show, during the extravaganza, you've gifted a subscription because in
Yes.
addition to supporting the theater through donations, you can subscribe to us here on Twitch, and that's going to give you access to all sorts of different things. That's going to get you access to premium shows. That's going to get you access to our Discord, where you can chat with performers and chat with other members of the Comedy Night community. And when you become a subscriber on Twitch, a paid subscriber, you get those extra shows, but you can also use emojis. And so
What's most important about it is you also set off an emoji explosion that happens on screen. So I mean,
yep,
come
there
on.
and see, there's some right there. It's and Barefoot and 52, who you gifted a subscription. You're randomly gifting a subscription every night. And we've given away
Yes.
3. We'll give away another later tonight. But
one's going out tonight. Barefoot and 52, who's doing all of this emoji, just got one gifted last night, and you could see him celebrating.
He's so excited.
It is an exciting thing to you know, it's more interactive, and I'll bet Cliff is gonna love it.
He probably will. You know, I think it's time. I think we should check in with Cliff, see how he's doing. Yeah.
All right. So yes, you don't have anything to say. We'll go ahead and roll into Cliff. Roll into this awesome intro.
Here we go. Hello, folks at home. Welcome one and all to Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. I, of course, am your host, Cliff McAllister, the czar of the bazaar. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Stephen, for that lovely introduction. I really appreciate being able to come here every week and share the strange and the unexplained with you at home. Now, of course, like they said, Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister is a call-in show. If you've experienced anything strange, anything bizarre you'd like to tell me about, please call in on our Twitch page or on Facebook. We're going to be dropping the Zoom link in the chat, so if you've got a strange tale to share with us tonight, you can join our Zoom call and tell us about it live on the air. That's right, and here we go. We've got a comment here in the chat I want to highlight, Stephen, right off the bat. This Barefoot and 52 fella, who you were talking about before he went to air, said the writing isn't backwards. On the set, yes, a new revelation here. Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. Our big show for the Met Comedy Night Summer Comedy Extravaganza. A big reveal for you tonight. Right behind me here, a brand new set. Look at this, and so much space for it to grow and grow. A brand new set here on Strange Times Indeed, because here at Strange Times Indeed, we believe in production value. And we bring that to you every week, every Thursday at 9 o'clock on twitch.tv/MetComedyNight. I don't know why it's a comedy, but that's their channel. Here we go, Strange Times Indeed. We've got a brand new sign. When this show started, it was a lowly Instagram show. And Instagram does not flip your video. Unlike the high-tech technology we have here that enables us to see writings forwards as it is ought to be read, on Instagram, your things won't work that way. And so our original sign, a little bit larger here, had to be written entirely backwards to appease the gods at Instagram. But now we are on Twitch, baby. We are on Twitch. We are on Facebook. We're taking over the world.
I have to say, that is a great and very interesting small fact to know about this awesome show. Take over that world. Take it over. Right.
We are taking the paranormal community here by storm on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. We've got a little guest coming up right here. I want you all who are watching for the first time at home to meet our little guy, Spangler, the office intern and a chupacabra attack survivor. That's right. This good boy here only has 3 legs. Lost it in a scruffle with a chupacabra. Now let's hop down, little guy, so I can tell my stories. Tonight, for those of you watching live, we are celebrating tonight one of Frederick's most well-known, perhaps not the most well-known, but the most revered, and our very own local cryptid, the Snallygaster. That's right, as we go live as a part of Met Comedy Night's Summer Comedy Extravaganza, we will be sharing some Frederick County history right here with the tales of the Snallygaster. But first, we've got some breaking news to report. As we have talked about week after week after week, there have been multiple sightings of the Mothman at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport over the past year. Troubling news of Mothmen watching people as they gate to and from the airways. Well, just recently, a trucker has reported seeing a diminutive, gray-skinned, black-eyed humanoid at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. That's right. Now, those of you paranormal heads, those of you following along at home, if you've read Jonathan Keel's original book of the Mothman Prophecies, his chronicle of what happened down there, extraterrestrial sightings were also seen at the time of the Mothman in Point Pleasant, West Virginia in the 60s. So, a troubling continuance of the original narrative in which now gray aliens, the Greys, as it seems to be, may be appearing at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. And with the troubling things that the original Mothman visitation brought to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, could O'Hare be headed for equally bad trouble? Keep an eyes to the skies, viewers. You're watching Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister, and I, of course, am Cliff McAllister. I'm seeing some cool cats going off in the emoji bombs, and let me tell you, there's a lot of you cool cats watching tonight. We've got people from all over the globe tuning in to hear things about what's going on in the world. The next item on our news Cliff McAllister and the start of the programming tonight, the President of our United States, during an interview, alludes to the fact that presidential frontrunner for the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, may be being controlled by the Men in Black. Let's listen to that clip.
Strings, is it former Obama
people
officials?
that you've never heard of, people that are in the dark shadows, people that...
Oh, what does that mean? That sounds like conspiracy theory. Dark shadows.
No,
What is that?
people that you haven't heard of. They're people that are on the streets. They're people that are controlling the streets. We had somebody get on a plane from a certain city this weekend, and in the plane, it was almost completely loaded with thugs wearing these dark uniforms, black uniforms with gear and this and that. They're on a plane.
Where's this?
I'll tell you sometime, but it's under investigation right now. But
Somebody somewhere. Somebody was going on a plane somewhere. Troublingly vague information from the president. Why would he keep such informations under wraps? And who are these mysterious men on the plane? A plane filled with men in black uniforms? Well, that sounds like only one profession in black uniforms known to the U.S. government. Well, that sounds like to those of us all over the paranormal community as the Men in Black. The secret government society meant for covering up extraterrestrial visitation and keeping tabs on our connections to extraterrestrials. The very people who are responsible for brokering the deal between extraterrestrials and humans to get rid of nuclear weapons and bring about world peace. The intermediaries, the Men in Black, are pulling Joe Biden's strings. They're controlling the Biden campaign. Could it be that the Men in Black are against universal health care? Because that's the very thing the extraterrestrials want us to have? Things to think about here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. We thank each and every one of you for tuning in. Best use of strobe. Better use that strobe and make us all forget about it. That's right. At any moment, the Men in Black can just make you forget things just like that. They got their little strobe lights. So if they're watching this program, if you're watching this program, if this program is taken off the air, if this feed gets cut at any point during the program, If we try to upload this again and again to the internet, but it is lost, the internet won't let us post it, that's the Men in Black pulling the strings. They say, Cliff, 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 you've gotten too close to us. You're figuring us out, Cliff, Cliff. We can't let you have this kind of power. We can't let you speak this kind of truth to the world. That's the Men in Black. So should this show disappear from the air, let that be a message. They're out there. That's the true reason. Now, of course, here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister, I am your host, Cliff McAllister, and we take phone calls on this program. We take phone calls from people all over the world who have experienced unexplainable things, who have experienced the bizarre. And I, Cliff McAllister, the czar of the bizarre, take their phone calls live on the air, and they share their stories with me and the world. It's a public service we provide here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. Now let's get into it. People are dying to know. They're typing in the chat. If you're watching along, you're probably saying to yourself, but Cliff, what about a Snallygaster? What about a Snallygaster? What about a Snallygaster? And if you're saying that, type that in the chat, because people want to know what's about the Snallygaster. And we're going to tell you about Frederick's famous cryptid tonight on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. Now, the Snallygaster is a creature of many descriptors. Some compare it to a bird, others compare it to a large winged reptile. Think of a dragon, per se. And it sports a metallic beak with rows of razor-sharp teeth. Initially, it's easy to compare the Snallygaster to the likes of a dragon or the thunderbirds of Native American folklore, but to do so would erase one of the beast's most troubling features: its tentacles. Now, here's a question for you at home if you're watching. Here's a little riddle for you in the chat. Something to think about. If you could tickle an octopus, how many tickles would you give it? Back to the Snallygaster. It seems the creature made its earliest appearance in the 1730s. As German immigrants were making their home in central Maryland. Whispers of a troublesome Snallygeist traveled up the countryside as livestock would go missing. It was believed at the time that the creature would swoop in from the sky and snatch farm animals from within its talons, and then eviscerate the animal in midair, feasting upon its innards. The poor Germans of 18th century Maryland didn't know what to make of the creature. Comparing it to a mixture between a bird and a demon, they painted seven pointed stars on the sides of their barns as a warning to the creature to ward it away as an evil spirit. As time progresses into the 1800s, we don't see or hear much of the Snallygaster in Frederick County, or anywhere in Maryland for that fact. During that time, there were no actively reported sightings. But the fear of the beast still lingered from the century before, which made it a convenient tale to tell to frighten off any slaves who were thinking about escaping their captors, the monstrous and irredeemable slaveholders of the state of Maryland. Let's not forget our state has a troubled history, not quite aligning with the North and not quite aligning with the South. And our own state flag is 50% comprised of the Crossland banner, which was used by those in the state who wished to join the Confederacy. So it's convenient that one of the country's earliest cryptids would be co-opted by the oppressors. Even though the mighty and terrifying Snallygaster of Frederick County was hiding in the caves of South Mountain long before there was a Frederick County or a state of Maryland to speak of. Hey, there's closed captioning on the Facebook feed. That's pretty cool. Well, you know what? That's just coming in from the chat from Barefoot52. And I'll say that there is closed captioning on Facebook. That's a fun feature that I did not know we had over there. 8, take that, Cliff. Oh, are you drawing a parallel between hex signs and barns to Snallygaster prevention? Yes. Yes, Prince of Boxes. I'm not sure who you are, but thank you for watching. We're tuning in, talking about the Snallygaster tonight. Now, the answer to my riddle. Oh, 8. Take that, Cliff. I get it. You're right. You're exactly right, Prince of Boxes. If you could give an octopus some tickles, how many tickles would you give it? Well, you would give it 8 tickles, 1 for each leg. You bet it is. Just a little riddle that we put in the show for audience engagement. Now, Steven, our tech guy, Steven, I've got the chat here from Twitch up next to me. Has anyone chimed in on Facebook? Any notable comments?
Doesn't seem like there's any comments coming in on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook watching, say hey, especially if you're able to read those captions.
Yeah, and if you're not watching on Facebook, well, that's because
Twitch is better.
Go to Twitch. What was that?
Twitch is better, right?
Well, that's what they tell me. I've been doing the show here for quite some time, unencumbered by the U.S. government, and I think that's just swell.
Alrighty.
They haven't stopped me once. Well, all right. Here we go. We're getting right back into... Whoop. All right, we're getting right back in to the tale of the Snallygaster. We will be doing that coming up in just a second. There's a
Facebook comment just come in from Rich Cole that says, hey, so Facebook chat is working.
All right, now that's what I like to see. Confirmation that the technology works. We're going to be getting right back into the Snallygaster in just a second. Let's leave that at a cliffhanger right there in the middle, at the end of the 19th century. Because mark my words, come the 20th century, come the turn of the century, the Snallygaster will return to Frederick. But as you know, we do take phone calls on this show. And on this show, we post a Zoom link right in the chat because we want to hear your strange experiences, your encounters with the unexplained. So if you've got a call for us, go ahead and click that button. Steven, do me a favor, roll our opening animation for me. Just want to take a good look at it. Thanks. There we go. Incredible comments in the chat tonight from Barefoot and 52 mentions a cliffhanger, a play on my own name. That's right. They call me the Master of the Vamp here at Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister, but they also call me Cliff the Cliffmaster, the Czar of the Bazaar. And tonight we've been talking about the Snallygaster, but we also take calls. The Zoom link's in there. If you've got an incredible and unexplainable story to share, please call into Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. We'll hear your troubling tales on the air. They don't have to be troubling. They could be a perfectly all right interaction with a Bigfoot. Maybe a very all right interaction with a Bigfoot, if you catch my drift. We'll take all kinds of calls as long as it pertains to the unexplained, the paranormal, the bizarre, whatever it is. You can call in on that Zoom link. We'll hear it right on the air. But also, not only do we offer this feature as a public service, but I, Cliff McAllister, the Czar of the Bazaar, am capable of interpreting dreams. And Steven, if no one's calling in, I'd like to talk to you about some of your dreams.
Oh, Cliff, I'm super ready. I think I've got a dream that you're really going to enjoy. And actually, I have a whole dream log, Cliff.
Yes.
And I was trying to train myself to lucid dream. I had an idea for a play that I never wrote about someone who escaped the real world and wanted to spend more time sleeping and lucid dreaming.
And so you started practicing lucid dreaming because you thought I could never find the right cast for this in real life, but in a dream anyone can be in my cast. So you could write that play in your dream, hold rehearsals night after night, and basically have a whole second life in which you produce this play that
I
no one in the real world will know about, but it'll be a success in your dream world.
Oh, hold on. Here we go. Whoa. Prince of Boxes now
Whoa.
following the channel. Whoa. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for following us. Wow, what an exciting night here
Yeah.
on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister.
Cliff,
And
I
so
think
you've been practicing, you've been learning to lucid dream
I was in the
so
past,
you
but
can
I
produce
think
the play.
I think you might have been right where I might have been intending to do exactly what you were talking about, oddly enough. But then I realized how deep I'd have to go for it, and I pulled back. And it was right at the point where I felt like I had started realizing when I was dreaming, but not been able to control them, when I kind of stopped this like little mini project of mine. And I'd even kind of learned how I would train myself to recognize it. And one of the biggest things was you have to ask yourself habitually during the day if you're dreaming, because then your subconscious would ask you the same question while you were dreaming, and then you could realize it. And then if you could control yourself where you wouldn't wake up, then you could continue to do it. And I even had a researched a tip where if you constantly like look at your hands, just check your hands, because in your dreams, if you ever check your hand, it's not going to look like your hand. And I like remember trying to make that a habit, like looking at my hands throughout the day. So yeah, anyways, this is one of the dreams.
Now, I would think if you're trying to lucid dream, what I would think the secret would be you have to lie down like you're going to bed and lay perfectly still in a position in which you're laying perfectly flat on your back, almost free floating. And you lay there and let your body fall asleep. But the trick is to keep your mind awake the whole time until you can't move your body because you're fast asleep, but your brain is wide awake. And then you can enter the world of dreams. That's what I would think. But it seems like
I mean, I think there may be more than one trick, and I honestly might want to try that. Another thing was someone said, drink 3 glasses of water before going to sleep. Then you have to keep getting up and going to the bathroom, and you just enter a bunch of different sleep cycles. So the odds are, I don't know. But Prince of Boxes said in the chat, trying to push your finger through your hand is also a good lucid dreaming thing. So I guess I need to try that as well. I mean, I'm not dreaming right now, so.
Well, of course, if you're able to do that, especially like you get used to that as a thing, you could, if you're in a dream and your intention is to push your finger through your hand, that'll happen in the dream, but it'll never happen in real life.
Yeah, I'd hope.
That'll snap you right into it, and you'll be in full control.
You potentially, if you don't accidentally wake up. So.
Got somebody coming in? Did somebody? Perhaps he was tired of waiting.
Was there someone in the waiting room?
There was a Colin Schulzenberger trying to join the chat. It said.
Oh.
But if you call back on, we'll let you join. I just had to finish that thought before I went on before the end of it. So we were talking about how to lucid dream. But Stephen, you have dreams to interpret.
Okay, yes. So this one is from March 31st, 2014. So 6 years ago. Richie is the first word, and Richie is a friend of mine, and a high school friend. And we had, by this point, gone to 3 different schools together, and was my first roommate as well. Richie had a little brother, and little brother, I know his little brother. I know his little brother's name, so I don't think it was actually one of his little brothers, TC or Steven, in the dream, because I would have written their name. So it was obviously his little brother, but likely not the brother that I would have recognized. I had a little brother that could do the loops on the roller coasters twice. So like you ride once, but you could do the loop twice. Hooray. It was a super but dark power. I tried to do it too, and he found out. So he asked me why I tried it. He then showed me some of his ways, and I found myself invisible to everyone, but I was shooting them with an air gun as if it were a video game. So when I think shooting with an air gun, remember there was like that sonic boom gun, and then it would like, like make someone's hair move or something? Maybe that was it.
Yes. The big with the inflatable bag in it kind of thing. It's a big
Or
plastic
maybe it says shooting
gun.
with an air gun, like I was air gunning in like this. I don't know.
Right, or like a BB gun kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't quite remember that. So it was one of
So
the other.
I do like to think it's one of those big plastic dreams. Now I'm only here
Right.
to interpret the end product of your dream, but in
Well,
the
that's
dream
what I
world,
said first. So as I'm recalling the dream, I'm sure that's probably more accurate.
that's true. It's probably your first instinct. And that's
Okay.
what we do. We interpret the dreams and we help you understand and remember them as we go.
Well, and then I learned how to actually push them. I found myself years later still using my abilities. I was dressed as a butterfly fairy wearing a skirt that was open in the front to expose my penis.
Can you read that last sentence one more time?
I was dressed as a butterfly fairy wearing a skirt that was open in the front to expose my penis.
Let me ask you a question just so we can help do some interpretation as we progress.
Well, before that, the next sentence is, my friends could see me and they were laughing, but the public couldn't.
All right. A thing to say, a quick question to clarify about you that might help us interpret as we go. Do you smoke cigars, Stephen? Do you like cigars?
I do not smoke cigars. I have probably tried a cigar on 2 or 3 occasions in my life.
But it probably wasn't your thing.
No, it was not my thing. Particularly at the time that I wrote this. Yeah, not.
All right. Carry on.
I was then living with a female, and there were 2 dogs with more powers than us that we were paying rent to. So the same kind of dark powers that I had, these dogs had. But
All right.
finally, I realized that the original Richie was actually Richie's little brother to begin with. And he had a secret plot to curse me with these powers.
So it sounds to me like you've been given a gift, but that gift is also a curse.
Right. Well, and
it's
it also is like a plot that one of my friends was tricking me with dark sorcery.
Right.
Richie,
Giving you some sort of dark power
if you're
that might seem like a blessing at first, but then it's actually a very bad thing.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're watching this, Richie, I don't really have these thoughts about you as a person. I don't know what else the dream could mean. Particularly the part where it seemed like I was running around pranking the public with my friends.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call exposing yourself to the public a prank.
Well, the air gun, if they felt it, that's more of a prank.
The air gun thing, for sure. That's a very, very funny prank.
Very
but
funny.
if you're going around just exposing yourself to the public, I think
they
that's
couldn't see me.
crime.
The public couldn't see me. It's just my friends that could see that I was exposing myself. Yeah.
Okay, well,
because I think we might have still been in an amusement park.
So it's a kind of thing. You've got this gift that makes you want to expose yourself to your friends, and that makes you feel very powerful. But you're not as powerful as your landlords and the people you pay rent to. So it kind of diminishes. You're lower on the scale, and that keeps you humble.
So you think that dream is humbling in general for me as a dreamer? I'm trying to.
I believe that the dream is a reflection of where you are in the world and where you see yourself. For at times you see yourself as someone with a great power that you think is silly and makes people laugh. Is that what you think your intention was?
Right. Yeah. I could see that for sure. I could definitely see that as
so you
a way
see
that I would see
yourself.
myself.
And that's something you can be happy and proud of, and you certainly should be. But at the same time, you're also powerless to the system that are these powerful dogs that you have to pay rent to.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm very great where I am, but I'm not as strong as the banks, or you're not as strong as the electricity companies.
Right. It's like I am allowed to have these gifts where I can be humorous, but I have to do it within the boxes of the
Society.
powers that be above me, which in the dream was the dogs who are more powerful, but in reality, the interpretation is that's the society that I was 6 years
And that's
ago.
your dream, is that your friend cursed you with the talent to be funny.
Wow, very
But
interesting.
did not curse you with the talent to be a 401k farmer or whatever it is.
I wished I had called you about this on March 14th, 2014. This is very insightful, Cliff. Thank you so much.
Well, of course. And now, of course, here at Strange Times Indeed, we are a call-in show. We've got someone in the chat, Stephen, begging to have the Zoom link. So let's hear a call tonight on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. Let's get weird tonight. Let's hear what is troubling people. What are the bizarre and unexplained things in their life? I can't wait to hear whatever it is when they sign into the chat. And then after that, we will wrap up the tale of the Snallygaster, Frederick's flying cryptid. We will do that after this next call. Of course, we also offer dream interpretation, and if that's what the call's for, I'll happily interpret dreams, as we just did with Stephen tonight, really getting to the bottom of what his dreams are trying to tell him. And he has been training himself to lucid dream. It's some very fascinating stuff. Well, let's see if we can get somebody on that line. We got folks begging, can I get that Zoom link again? And we've got it right there in the chat, so if you're listening, you can go ahead and click that link. Ah, here we go.
Hello there.
Hello. Welcome to Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. I'm your host,
Hello.
Cliff McAllister. Who may I ask is calling?
My name is Colin. Hello, Cliff. I've never been on your show before, but I've watched it once or twice on the Instagram before you switched to the Twitch. And I made sure to make a second Twitch account just to watch your show on Twitch.
Can I ask for permission to put your video up into the live stream?
I feel like I kind of gave that permission. You know what I mean? Like when Twitch was like, you can have all of your identity is now stolen. I was like, okay, but since you're asking, I guess I'll say absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Show away.
All right, if you say so. Here you go.
Okay, cool.
All right, Colin. Thank you for calling in. So, what is on your mind tonight?
So I've actually wanted to talk to you about this for a while. I lived in, I want to say it was a haunted house.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was like a haunted house, like, there was a ghost in it, but maybe there was a poltergeist. But there was all these warning signs prior to going in there. It was in Frostburg, Maryland. I was living up there, and I have a friend who's a mutual friend of yours, Cliff, and his name is Steve. And he actually used to hang out in that house with me a lot. And my first day moving into the house, I opened up a drawer and a desk that was left there, and it said something like, "What a beautiful yellow brick house. It seems like a blessing. It's more like a curse." And immediately I was like, oh man, this place is spooky, but it didn't seem that bad. Everything seemed cool. So I set up all my stuff, and then within the first day moving in, my legs started itching really bad. I had like this insane itching over my whole body. Found out that the people who lived there prior to me had a bunch of cats and they had fleas. So they had to flea bomb the place before I could move back in. They had to take all the carpets out, which really spooked the spirits that I'm about to tell you about. I'm just building you up for it. So I went home with my flea-bitten legs, you know. I waited for them to tear the carpet out, moved back in that weekend, and that's when all the weird stuff started happening. So first thing, number one, I was laying in bed and it was like pale moonlight coming in my window, and I fell asleep. And right as I went over the threshold of falling, someone brushed their fingers through my hair, kind of like this. I have my hair short now. So they brushed their fingers through my short hair, just like this. And I felt them touch my forehead, so I woke up.
And you said you were falling?
So yeah, I woke up and I was like, okay, you know, this is happening. Maybe it was a bug, right? It was just a bug.
It could be more fleas.
So the next night, maybe more fleas. Exactly. That makes sense. The next night, my roommate moved in upstairs. There was actually 5 of us living there, but they were moving there day by day through a course of a week, and I was the first one to move in. My roommate moved in, and he was asleep as well as happened at night, and he started hearing someone punching the closet door on the 2nd level. So he opened up the closet door, and there's like, 6 inches of space between the wall. It's kind of like something to hold cans in, I guess.
Oh, it's one of those little mini closets.
Right. Yeah. So there's
got no depth at all.
Nobody could fit in the can closet.
In the wall.
So yeah, exactly. So so that was really wild and scary. But we were like, okay, that's funny. So then this guy comes next door. He comes over to our house. He lived next door, and he walked over and he said, guys, I actually moved in next door. I used to live in this house. He said, there's something wrong with the washer. There's something wrong with the shower. But the worst thing is there's a poltergeist. And we all started laughing, me and my jabroni friends. And He was like, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm serious. So I started dating this girl, and she had just came to my downstairs area of my apartment. She's like, wow, it's really scary down here. Like, this place has like really negative energy. And I didn't believe in negative energy. I didn't believe in energy at all. I didn't even believe in the sun at the time. I was like, there's no energy. There's no, so I was like, whatever that means. We went to sleep. We were actually hanging out watching a movie, and we both fell asleep. And I had this insane dream about this German man, and his wife had this wolf mask, was her face, and my skin turned to bones. And it was this insane dream. I've never had a dream like that before. But when I woke up to her screaming. And as she's screaming, there's this hovering blue light over her, and boom, it disappears. And I was like, what the hell was that? And she's like, I saw this old man. He was hovering over my body right when you woke up. That's why I started screaming. And it was probably 5 a.m.
Right.
So, okay, I'm trying to get my bearings about me. This was kind of weird. Now I'm starting to believe in.
This is at the same time you're having this weird dream about the German man and his wife in the wolf mask?
Yeah, and there was a church choir got shot in in my dream. It was such a weird dream. It was really graphic, scary dream. There was there were aliens in the dream, but when I say aliens, I'm putting that in quotes because they were people who looked like you and I guess. But they were obviously from somewhere else, and they were putting these thoughts in my head. And I remember they kept telling me, the people at the end of the dream, we implanted the thoughts of that German man. We implanted the thoughts of that. And then I woke up to this, which I thought was really weird. So I'm wondering if maybe I don't know. So I thought everything's cool. Then my room, things are getting better. Things are actually getting better. We're having better times in the house. Things were never normal after that, though. I remember we were all the vibe of the house was different. But things were getting better. There weren't as many weird paranormal things happening in the house. And my roommate wakes up one morning, and he's like, hey, I need you to see something. This is really weird. And he has a full stab wound in his side, and his bed is has blood on it and everything. And I was like, what happened? And he's like, I have no idea. I woke up like this. I'm telling you about a third of what I can even think of right now. But from the day that the ghost man was over my girlfriend and like, or blue light as I saw, you know, and the moon was really bright in that room. You know, it was like moon side. I remember every time the moon hit like a certain spot, I was like, bingo, like I got this perfect light. But like ever since my roommate had the stab wound, like from that day forward, like I said, I need to get out of this house. And I stayed there for 2 years and we ended up, I think we got evicted. I feel like we may have gotten like kicked out because we were like, you know, having too much fun as college kids or something.
That's troubling to get evicted from the haunted house.
I know.
You were more of a nuisance than the spirits.
I know. There was a lot of issues.
That stabbed your friend.
But it was really, I get excited thinking about it because I loved that house. Like it was a beautiful house. And I couldn't believe that I scored something like that in college. And I was paying like $300 a month or something to live there. So it was this like really cool, beautiful house, but it was like the most terrifying place on earth. And there was always like, you would always hear stuff. And there was this basement area. We came downstairs one time and our landlord called me from my basement. She was like driving by because she saw smoke coming out of my garage. And I thought, you know, this was like a Cheech and Chong moment or something, but there was like just a smoldering happening on my couch of my garage. So like weird, like, you know, things that could almost go wrong would go wrong in this house. And you asked for troubling stories. I think about this story. I think about that house all the time. And it was just like terrifying. Everybody who came there was like, this place feels weird. And I was like, I know, I think something happened. But anyway, that's
very interesting.
That's my wild story of my house in Frostburg. I don't remember the address right now.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, there's so much more that I'm not remembering. I had a friend and she would come over and we were in a band together. So we would have band practices, but then she said, we can't practice here anymore. And she was really, really religious, really spiritual, you know? Mm. So, and she said she felt like demonic presence. Let's hear it.
Oh, here we go. The question is, did you ever look it up in historic records?
So, okay. I did. I actually looked it up through my property manager, but I couldn't find anything from the city of Frostburg. So it was built in the late 60s, but I don't think anyone lived there until the 70s. And there was this fraternity, like alumni he was in this fraternity and he bought the house and he was just kind of like letting the frat kids stay there, I guess, from the time to time if they wanted to come in and stay there. And then after like 20 years, they sold it to this property manager, A to Z Realty Company. For any of you out there who use A to Z, they're still around. They're still kicking. They have like 300 homes in the Frostburg area, but A to Z Realtor, they bought them out and I asked a ton of questions after I read that. I was like, what happened here? And who's this guy? This hasn't been that long. I can't think of anything, you know, because all the big stuff that happened in the Frostburg area was during like the coal mining boom,
right? Which
was 1800s, you know, so that was, you know, maybe it was just that it's over top of a whole bunch of abandoned coal mines and there's all these, you know, Silent Hill energy like coming up from it or something. So.
And I think what's interesting too, you know, the worst stuff there seemed to happen in the 18th century. That's around the time the settlers were coming in, and particularly the Central America area around Maryland, as we were talking about earlier with the Snallygaster, with the initial sighting in around the 1730s. That's when a lot of Germans were coming into that area. And you mentioned earlier that in your bizarre dream, that man was there with that German man.
The German man.
There could be some very far back going, like ancient curse on this house, perhaps. Just connecting those 2 points. And that was kind of
a really like this German or Dutch man from his farm or something. Yeah. Well, yeah, but right out. And the weirdest part about talking to the German man is I remember it so vividly. I've never had a dream so vivid in my life. Like that was the weirdest thing. But like after I finished talking to him, my skin fell off. Like that was the weirdest. Like I talked to him and it was almost like he was toxic, but he wouldn't let me talk to his wife, which I thought was also really, was like, don't talk to her. And I was like, excuse me, ma'am, I need to know how to get my car fixed or whatever. And she had this like like wolf
But then
mask
at the
on.
same
Yeah.
time, your girlfriend is asleep in bed and having some other equally terrible dream where you wake up and there's a blue orb over her. It's almost as if that moment there is the curse of whatever this is settling in on you until you leave. That's like the final warning sign.
I know. I actually, and the funny thing is, I had, like I said, I had 5 mates, and they all moved. Well, 3/5 of them moved out before I did, and the last 2 remaining, we left together. We didn't move to the same house together, but we actually, one of my roommates, but the others kind of went their own separate ways. But they were all terrified of that place. They wouldn't go there alone. Nobody would stay there alone. I remember that was a big thing, and all this weird stuff would happen. There was a drug raid there. And there were like a bunch of sober kids living in a house together, which I always I always thought that was super weird because it was like the last place you would ever expect something like that to happen, with just like the group of people I was spending time with. So they were such good, not saying that drugs are bad to anybody out there who's like pushing that agenda. I'm just saying, like, they were just, wholesome people that I never expect. Like, little things like that. There would always be, the police would show up and ask questions like, we're looking for this person. Why are you asking us? Well, they were in this house last. No, they weren't. Like, we don't know who you're talking. I mean, that happened a lot. We had all sorts of strange things like that. We had,
it's based on they were at this house once. That's very troubling, as if it leaves a mark on people. Like, I don't want to freak you out, but that's
it was so weird. It was so weird. And my bedroom had a little shed that was built out back, and it was completely torn down, and the foundation was still there, but it was such an old foundation that it was like kind of rotting into the pavement, kind of became the pavement. So it was like cement block that was like turning into pavement. But anyway, that's my tale of horror.
That's incredible.
Terror.
Colin, we've got some comments in the chat before we let you go.
Okay.
Just some general potential feedback from Prince of Boxes. Says your house wasn't part of this plane, almost as if when entering it you would go to some sort of in-between space.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because I never had dreams or emotions like I had in that house. It was all sorts of stuff. The house was flooded once. A guy fell into the water heater. And he flooded that. And that wasn't a ghost. That was just a guy. But I'm telling you, it was just a weird thing that
it's
happens
still troubling
at 3 a.m.
when that happens.
It's troubling. I know. Yeah. And the washing machine was always broken. That guy was right about that. The washer and dryer and the shower were broken from the get-go.
Wow. Well,
nothing to do with paranormal, but
hey, that's all right. It seems like a lot of good things happened in that house.
I'll never forget. I'm surprised I've never talked to you about this, Cliff. I'm surprised that we've never had a conversation about this. I've met you once or twice.
Yeah.
And this is something I feel like we would have had a conversation about, but it was one of the scariest homes I've ever been in my life to this day. I don't know who's living there now, and whoever you are, I kind of want to go warn you or something, but it's still on the market. A to Z still owns it. I went there not too long ago to the Frostburg area, and I saw that old house. I drove by and was like, whoa.
Well, Colin, before you go, would you feel comfortable if you remember that address, sending us that email, and we can do an independent investigation to see if we can
Absolutely. Yes.
Wonderful.
It's on, you know what? I know it's on East College Avenue, so I'll look for the rest. But.
All right. When you figure that out, send that to strangetipsindeed@gmail.com.
Sounds good. All right, everybody. Thank you, Cliff.
Colin.
Thank you, team. Matt Comedy, everybody. All my love.
Thank you so much.
Seacrest out.
Wowie zowie. Hey, let's go ahead, Steven. I think we need to go do a quick little ad break, don't we? We'll go into a quick ad break.
Sounds good to me, Cliff. We'll do a quick ad break, and then I'll be gifting a subscription.
That's right, a subscription from Steven. And then we will return to wrap up the story of the Snallygaster. Here tonight, Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister, twitch.tv/MetComedyNights.
Here we go.
Life inside during the pandemic getting you down? Worried that there's nothing you can do to pass the time? No laughs left to be had? All gone crazy? Well, bam! Guess what? Met Comedy Night is coming to Twitch. Heck, it's there right now, and you can join us. every week with shows from the Comedy Pigs, Oh Crit, Strange Times Indeed, Over the Hump, and more. That's right, follow us on twitch.tv/MetComedyNight for all the laughter you need.
Are you switching your camera angle?
God, I don't think I can do this anymore. Oh, he's biting my butt. He's biting my. Oh, God, that's my hand. That's my hand. Oh my gosh, just kill me now. Life inside during the pandemic getting you down. Worried that there's nothing you can do to pass the time.
Hey, and we are back.
Hey,
it's time to go ahead and get this done. Let's gift this subscription.
Yes. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Twitch.tv/MetComedyNight or on Facebook. You're watching Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. I'm Kevin Cole, the producer of Strange Times Indeed, and also the person running this whole Met Comedy Night shindig. So we are getting things going. We're having so much fun tonight. Steven is gifting a subscription to Prince of Boxes, our newest viewer follower.
Thanks for following.
Now that's fun.
Thanks for keeping it lively in the chat. And boom, boom, boom.
A brand new follower tonight here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. And this is a show we do every Thursday night at 9 o'clock here on twitch.tv/MetComedyNight.
You know, it's funny about our subscription, and this is a strange story that I was hoping to tell Cliff, actually. I uploaded almost a week ago an emoji that was specific only to our channel, and it's the little animated picture of Cliff's face that's off to the sides of his main camera there.
The little cartoon.
Yeah, the cartoon. Yeah, so you could
that was
use
done, that was actually an illustration done by a friend of mine named Simon Who. Credit where it's due to Simon Who.
That's cool. But really, I don't know why. I mean, Twitch should approve that within 24 hours, but it's been almost a week. So that seems really strange to me.
That is strange.
Twitch is taking its sweet time to approve that emote because a lot of people want to make that face,
Yeah, whenever you see something strange happen on the show, when you hear strange things occurring, like that's the perfect time to use it. You see something bizarre happen and you're like, I want to confirm that I think that's weird. It's a nice way to pop that little emoji. And yeah, Bearfun52 in the chat says he can't find it. And, I think the reasoning is every week on the show, Cliff says, this show is dedicated to the Maryland Ensemble Theater because they have the guts to put us on the air. And that's because they tell the truth over on that show. It's a truth-telling show that really kind of looks behind the scenes at what's going on in the world and says, maybe ancient Germans cursed this land and that brought us the Snallygaster in the long run. Or maybe it's something where they're saying like, the extraterrestrials have offered us a chance at world peace and we've turned it away. And it's that kind of truth that, in its little ways, Twitch doesn't want people finding out about.
Yeah, I think
that's what makes the show so important.
Yeah,
people gotta tune in every Thursday, 9 o'clock on the Met Comedy Night Twitch page.
I would agree.
Well, Steven, why don't we get back rolling with the thing? We'll let Cliff wrap up the show and tell us the tale of the Snallygaster.
Oh, okay. So we'll end off the tale of the Snallygaster. I guess I'll just go back into running this super cool intro for everybody. And here we go.
Welcome back to Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. Stephen, thank you so much for carrying us through there. I am, of course, your host, Cliff McAllister. Tonight we are talking about the Snallygaster. We heard an incredible tale of an ancient haunted land somewhere in Frostburg from our caller tonight, Colin. Thank you so much, Colin, to call in. That's what really puts this show on the map as the chance that people have to share their bizarre tales here with me, Cliff McAllister, the czar of the bizarre. And as you witnessed tonight, we treat these tales with such reverence, such respect. So if you have something you want to share, this is a safe place to do it. But if you find, oh, I still don't feel quite comfortable, you can always anonymously submit your tales to strangetipsindeed@gmail.com. We put that right up there. Here it is. That's the email you can send things to if you want to tell us a strange tale. Or as we asked Colin earlier, if he can remember the address of that house, we at Strange Times Indeed will do an independent investigation into the haunting. We might not be able to get in there, but we'll at least look into the history of the house. So if he remembers that, that's the address right there to send it to. Well, it's gone now. But hopefully he wrote it down in the meantime. And on a recent show, just last week, we put a call. You ever see something strange happening? You ever see something bizarre? And you just got to make that face. You probably saw me do it earlier tonight during Colin's story. Something so bizarre, so unexplainable. You just got to... and really take it all in. What face do you make when you see something strange? We want to see a selfie. Send a selfie of the face you make when something crazy happens that you just can't quite explain. I should have asked Colin to make that face, but I forgot. You can send a selfie of that picture and we'll share it on the air at strangetipsindeed@gmail.com. We've got one tonight from last week we want to share. This is from our viewer, Rich. I believe it's Bear52 and Barefoot52 in the chat there. There he is. Look, that is the face he makes when he sees something he can't quite explain.
He looks terrified.
That's absolutely. That's not quite the face I make, but everyone makes their own face. So, Richard, thank you for sharing that with us. And if you want to share your astonished, shocked, your face of the bizarre, send that to us, strangetipsindeed@gmail.com. Now we are rocking and we are rolling tonight. We're going to tell you the tale of the Snallygaster here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. Now, the Snallygaster, as we noted earlier, first witnessed in the 1730s, where there were whispers from German settlers of what they called a Schnellergeist, which became to be known as Frederick Maryland's Snallygaster. Fast forwarding now from where we were earlier in the telling of this story. The Snallygaster stayed on the down low, stayed hidden for much of the 19th century. Perhaps there was something more pressing going on at that time. But come February 1909, residents of Middletown began reporting sightings of the Snallygaster, telling tales of a flying beast with tentacles that would burst from its mouth to consume its prey, draining it of its blood. A creature that could howl with an ear-splitting squeal and the intensity of a locomotive. With an explosion of sightings in the area, the Snallygaster quickly got the attention of the Smithsonian Institute, which offered a $100,000 reward for the creature, as well as the attention of a Mr. Theodore Roosevelt, the president with an insatiable lust for any creature larger than himself. Roosevelt himself considered postponing an African safari to hunt for the Snallygaster, to make the mighty tentacled beast another trophy to be found upon his mantle. This is happening in the early 1900s. Now, sightings continued through the Prohibition area until the Baltimore Sun reported the Snallygaster's death in November of 1932, when it had crashed into a moonshiner's whiskey still and drowned in a vat of whiskey. Following the discovery of the creature, the vat was destroyed by federal prohibition officers before the carcass of the Snallygaster could be exhumed. Now, if you're drinking whiskey tonight, distilled in the finest Snallygaster, you can pour one out for your homies here tonight. The homies, specifically the Snallygaster, but before you do, do know that this death reporting was not the most recent, was not the end of Snallygaster sightings. Now, the Baltimore Sun noted a sighting 16 years after the death flying over Westminster. And in 1973, state troopers were searching Sykesville for a huge hairy monster described by residents as a cross between a Deweyyo and a Snallygaster. Now, we have not talked about the Deweyyo, but the Deweyyo is another Maryland folklore beast known as Maryland's Wolfman. According to legend, the Deweyyo is a sworn enemy of the Snallygaster. Now, the Wolfman was first sighted in 1944, so for it to be a sworn enemy of the Snallygaster, they must have encountered each other at some point. And if it was first encountered in 1944, the Snallygaster must have survived or had offspring somewhere in the caves of South Mountain, waiting to be born again to fight Deweyyos over the country. Now, the Maryland Wolfman was first reported in newspapers in 1965. The Deweyyo made the pages of the Frederick News Post, the FNP. I read it regularly. It's for you, it's for me, it's for the family. And the Frederick News Post stated, near the woods of Gambrill State Park, John Becker went out in his yard to investigate a strange noise. It was getting dark, and he had started back to the house when he saw something moving towards him. It was as big as a bear, had long black hair, a bushy tail, and growled like a wolf or a dog in anger. As it got closer, it stood up on its hind legs and attacked him. Becker fought the creature until it ran into the woods, leaving him, his wife, and children in horror. Deciding to remain anonymous under the alias of John Becker, he filed a report with local state police, telling of an attack by a mysterious monster that he called a Deweyyo. Now, what's troubling is that the creature sighted in 1973 by state troopers that they were searching for in Sykesville was said to be a huge hairy monster described by residents as a cross between a Deweyyo and a Snallygaster. Now, I don't know about you, but I think about what this means, and it sounds to me like somewhere along the line, Deweyyos and Snallygasters are crossbreeding. Now, Snallygaster is a very vicious species on its own, almost in ways a chupacabra with wings, but also tentacles that come out of its many-fanged, its beaks. There it is. There's the Snallygaster there. What one might look like, sucking blood out of human beings, as one might a chupacabra. And it's troubling the way this is a mix between a Deweyyo. It means they are making a more powerful, more vicious creature that could be lurking in the mountains of Frederick County today. And on Strange Times Indeed, Stephen, you can bring that picture down for a moment. No, take them all down. We'll get to that in a second. We at Strange Times Indeed are going to be researching, doing an active investigation, a special report into the Snallygaster. Now, here's an interesting point from Prince of Boxes here. Would Deweyyo be related to Germanic hexen wolves? Now, here we go again. The incredible threat of an ancient cursed German land here in Central America. I know that's not what I mean, but the center of the Atlantic area, the DMV, as it was known in the 1700s by Das Germans, the DMV area, Deweyyos cast in by German hexen wolves, the Snallygaster, or as it was called at the time, the Schnellergeist, coming together, cursing ancient houses in Frostburg, and then spreading forth through all time these demonic, these awful, vicious beings that have now crossbred in Sykesville. We at Strange Times Indeed are going to do an in-depth investigation into this, a special report, to find out where it all ties in, to find out where it ends, and to get a glimpse of this Snallygaster Deweyyo being. Well, we are in Frederick, Maryland. That's where we do our broadcasting. We have the means to do that here, to go out into the world and do a special report. I don't know when it will be, but we're announcing it tonight. We're starting it. So look for that kind of wild movie coming out at some point later this year. or later within the next year. That's the deadline. The deadline is today, 2021. That's when we will have this documentary completed. That is my promise to you. Cliff McAllister, the host of Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister, a show on the Met Comedy Night Network. Now, this show, as always, is brought to you by the Maryland Ensemble Theater, who have the guts to put us on the air. So you can make a donation to them at marylandensemble.org/donate. If you are moved in any way by what you've seen tonight, if you feel that your life has been made more bizarre by the stories you have heard, then support this show, support the Maryland Ensemble Theater, and make a donation to marylandensemble.org/donate. All right, we've got people popping off about the overview. The Mid-Atlantic. There we go. Thank you. The Mid-Atlantic. Maryland, not in Central America. Prince of Boxes. That cat has to know how much I love them, please. Spangler, the chat loves you. Yes, you're a star. Look at this boy. He heard you. There he is. Spangler, you're a star. The people love you. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They think you're a real sweetheart. Yes, they do. They really do. Now, that's Spangler, our in-show intern, and a chupacabra attack survivor, a sweet little boy with 3 legs. Survivor of a chupacabra attack. And he keeps us company every night here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. I, of course, am your host, Cliff McAllister. We're talking about the Snallygaster tonight and bringing things to a close with its ties to haunted Germanic lands. Schulzenberger is a German name. Now, perhaps there's a deep connection between what happened to Colin and his family lineage. Who's to say? I'm no DNA website. But one thing I do want to point out before we close tonight. Many cryptid fans may also be familiar with the Jersey Devil, a demonic creature that was born in New Jersey, born of a woman who had 12 kids and could not have another. She just couldn't bear it. She said, 13, may the devil curse this thing out of me. And she gave birth to the Jersey Devil. Now, that happened in January of 1909. The Snallygaster returns to Frederick, Maryland in February of 1909. So across the Mid-Atlantic, an area in which these ancient Germans have settled, all of a sudden things start appearing again around the same time. The Jersey Devil and the Snallygaster. And Stephen, let's bring both those pics up, because look at these two beings. There's something similar in their construction, in their depiction, the Snallygaster and the Jersey Devil. A connection could be drawn between these two ethereal beings, bringing them into our world at the same time. Our ancient Germanic people have cursed this land with that house in which our caller who called in, could that home be an epicenter of a dark ritual that has brought these beings into our world? Things to think about. Stephen, bring the pictures down. These are some things to think about. A strange world in which we live, in which a ritual is performed in the 1700s around the sightings, the very first sightings of the Snallygaster and the ancient Germanic Hexenwolves, cursing a land, cursing a home in Frostburg, but also bringing to light creatures across the Mid-Atlantic. You won't hear this kind of coverage on the news. You won't hear it anywhere else. The only place you can get this kind of incredible analysis of the world around us, a glimpse behind the curtain, a show the men in black don't want you to see, is right here. Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. I, of course, have been your host, Cliff McAllister, here on twitch.tv/Met Comedy Night. We want to thank everybody who called in tonight. Colin Schulzenberger with your incredible tale of the house. Stephen, thank you so much for calling in with your story about your dream interpretation. And thank you while you're here, while you're on screen. I gotta say, thank you for teching this show. The reason this show looks as good as it does is because you stay on here and you push the buttons when you need to.
Thanks, Cliff. Thanks.
You know, people think it's easy work, but as somebody who knows somebody who worked in television, I can tell you it can be really nerve-wracking at times.
Oh.
And the pressure's on you a lot.
Oh, thanks, Cliff. Thank you. Yeah. It's really no trouble. You're.
From my perspective as a host, I think you're doing an incredible job. And look, the people in the chat
shucks,
agree.
thanks.
They send little gooby ghosts into our show.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone watching. Thank you to Colin, to Bearfun52, to Prince of Boxes, and anyone else who's watching, whose name I missed in the chat. This has been such a fun show tonight. So thank you for joining us for Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. Let's roll a commercial break. Send it back to you, Stephen and Kevin. Thank you for having me. And stay strange.
Life inside during the pandemic getting you down? Worried that there's nothing you can do to pass the time? No laughs left to be had? All gone crazy? Well, bam! Guess what? Met Comedy Night is coming to Twitch. Heck, it's there right now, and you can join us every week with shows from the Comedy Pigs, Oh Crit, Strange Times Indeed, Over the Hump, and more. That's right, follow us on twitch.tv/MetComedyNight for all the laughter you need. Oh God, I don't think I can do this anymore. It's got my butt.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Wow, Stephen, what a show tonight.
Yeah, it was a great show.
I mean, that Cliff guy has a real talent for putting it together.
Yeah, what was really interesting was the call-in by Colin was also about a dream, and I had shared a dream, and he really seemed to connect some dots today. So yeah, I thought that was incredible. Look at these extra life.
I mean, watching this, if I were a viewer at home, and I'm the producer of the show. I'm not on it. You know, I just make sure, I'm responsible for the set they had up tonight. But
yes,
that's really all I do. And so, I mean, if I were watching at home, seeing those dream interpretations live on the air, I'd say, wow, like this guy has a real natural talent. If I ever had a weird dream, I would call into a show. And if I ever lived in a haunted house or had something weird happen to me, I'd also definitely call into that show.
Yes, of course. I'm super glad that I get to produce the live stream for him, and so I was lucky, I didn't even have to call in. I was already here to share my dream. Maybe I'll share one that's more recent in the near future, because the advice I got today was like for 6 years ago, man. Makes me wish I'd used my time with him a little bit better. But we'll see if I get another chance. He's getting more and more popular, more and more call-ins all the time.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, I was talking to Cliff about it when you had mentioned that you were lucid dreaming and you had a dream journal and you were trying to crack into the dream world. I said to Cliff, I was like, we should make that a segment. We can come back to that as a well of information.
I'm glad that you had recommended that to him, and especially because you had said that he had his own way of learning how to lucid dream, and so I feel like a little bit enlightened on his tactic. And then we had Prince of Boxes tell me about the finger in the hand thing too. So maybe I need to get back into this research and really go for it this time.
Yeah, and
thank you, Prince. I think Prince of Boxes thinks I'm an excellent human. And he's thanking you. Well, no, he's not thanking Kevin. Sorry.
Thanks, Cliff, for your cool brain.
We'll make sure he knows.
I'll make sure he gets that message. I will pass that along to him. And Stephen, I had that conversation with Cliff about you being the dream guy on the show, but I think technically you were the one who pitched that as a recurring segment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it helps that you liked it as well. Yeah. So he was much agreeable. So
I mean, you said it to me, and somebody has to say it to Cliff, because he will not be spoken to by some people, and it's a weird thing where that he would not speak to you at all until.
Well, it's like I don't necessarily have direct contact with him. I really communicate with him through the producer. So that's why I had to thank you on that one, Kevin.
But that also keeps a safe distance. That's how you know his dream interpretations aren't based on other things he knows about your
Right,
life.
because he could, I guess, more pick up on other habits, or like if he knew me as a person, would speculate based on our friendship what my dream was about, and then really this was just purely the visions that he's hearing about, that he's deciphering. So.
Right. Well, because I talked to him too when I pitched the idea, and I was like, "Do you want to have like lunch with Steven and talk about this idea, like flesh it out with him?"
Yeah.
And he said something to the effect of, "Oh, no, I don't want to hear about his life. The more I know about his life, the more trouble that is for me to interpret his dreams. So just keep him out of it, keep us separate, and we'll talk on the air."
Wow, you must spend a lot of time with him, because you really nailed his voice, I think.
Really, you think?
Yeah, I think you could do a really good impression. But you shouldn't. I don't want you.
Do Jimmy Carter?
It's Jimmy Carter, sure.
Carter?
Oh.
Hello, I'm Jimmy Carter. They say everybody.
I love it.
You say they say that everybody who does an interpretation, their interpretation is their interpretation of somebody else doing that interpretation.
Yes.
So my Jimmy Carter is inspired by Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
I knew it. I love me some Andy Kaufman. I wonder what Cliff thinks about
you're
his
both clowns.
death, or his supposed death. I wonder what Cliff thinks about it.
It's a conspiracy theory, to be sure.
Yeah.
There's some ancient articles about it somewhere.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe Bob Zamuda will call into the show. And then Tony Clifton will call in, and we'll get in real trouble. And we'll be like, how? Well, Bob Zamuda and Tony Clifton both on a Zoom call? Why, I thought they were the same person.
Right. How would that work?
It certainly would be a bizarre thing.
Yeah.
Because then who's to say? Is Andy Kaufman still Tony Clifton? Is he calling into our Zoom call? Is that our big chance?
Or is Tony Clifton still Andy Kaufman?
Or is it Jim Carrey?
I think Jim Carrey literally was Andy Kaufman for the filming of the documentary.
You think their souls combined into one? You watched the documentary.
Of course, yes. I'm convinced.
I mean, that's a strange time too. And the thing about doing these shows here on Twitch is, if you're a subscriber, you get access to premium shows. We're going to do shows like Behind the Paywall that are like special magical shows that only our truest fans get to experience, and you get access to a Discord. But some of those shows are, Cliff and I have been looking at various like show listings on Hulu and Netflix and stuff. And so we're going to do some premium shows where we watch along on some movies. There's a documentary on Hulu that's called like Bigfoot's Girl. And it's about it's a documentary. It's not a fictional movie. It's classified as a documentary on Hulu, so it must be real. And it's about a girl who witnessed Bigfoot as a young child, and now is in love with him, and she's gonna find him and marry him. I think, at least that's what it seems to be marketed.
That's what you can hope.
And so we're gonna go premium with Cliff, and we'll put a counter on, and we'll all hit play at the same time, and we'll watch that movie. We can watch the Andy Kaufman documentary and really get into the soul merger between Jim Carrey and Andy
I would be down for that. There is a fake preview out there too, where someone took footage from that documentary and made it seem as if Jim Carrey was talking about his role as the Grinch.
Mm-hmm.
So he had become the Grinch. And,
right.
And that's another crazy theory, because that also could have happened. I was convinced from that preview.
Yeah. Well, so that just about wraps up night 4 of Met Comedy Nights Summer Comedy Extravaganza. Stuck inside for 6 more months of Summer Extravaganza. So thank you for tuning in to night 4. Please support the Maryland Ensemble Theater by going to marylandensemble.org/donate. The notes is somewhere here on the Facebook, here on the Twitch. If you're watching on Twitch, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching on Facebook, thanks so much for tuning in there. Thank you, Steven. Thank you, me. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. Thanks for everyone who called in tonight on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister. It's always cool when we get phone calls on this show. Steven, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say thanks for that chat. Wow, we had a fun time
oh my
tonight.
God, thank you to everybody who chimed in the chat. If people chimed in on Facebook, I'm sorry I didn't acknowledge you. I only have Twitch, or Cliff only does.
I was watching the face, but there wasn't as much going on in that chat tonight. But there was still we had about half audience, half here, half there. And tomorrow night, don't forget our last night of the Common Night Extravaganza.
Yes, how could I forget? How could I forget? Sometimes you produce your own show and you get wrapped up in it, and people will call you a narcissist and angry emails about it. And they'll say, "Why didn't you talk about my show?" Well, here's a fun fact about the Met Comedy Night shows. That's not a jab at anybody. Nobody's done that.
I know they have. I know they have.
I was like, oh, I hope nobody thinks that was a comment about somebody. No, everybody's cool. But the tomorrow night on Met Comedy Night at 9:00, you'll find Crit. They're going to be playing some games. They've been doing a great job ever since the shutdown started of going live on Twitch and just playing games. They're a D&D inspired improv group. But they've just been like kicking back, playing some fun like role-playing games. They played Dadlands. They played Honey Bears or something like that. And we've got that
Honey Bear Heist, I think.
Honey Heist.
Yeah, that's it.
And so they're going to be performing that night, and then they're performing tomorrow night, and then they're actively working on making their Honey Heist, Prince of Boxes knows. And so they're working actively on making their live improv show something that can be emulated virtually as well. So they are going to be returning on September 25th at 9:00 with that. So you get 2 shows from them this month, one tomorrow at 9 and one at the end of the month at 9:00. 2 different formats, but both will be a lot of fun. So be sure to tune into Crit. If you wanted to watch any of the other Met Comedy Night shows this week and you missed them, I have uploaded each of them onto the Met Comedy Night YouTube page under a playlist that's just called Summer Comedy Extravaganza 2020. And it's got each show from that. Tomorrow night, it'll have this one on there. And then the night after that, it'll have Crit. So you can catch up. You can enjoy the extravaganza even if you missed it. And please consider donating to marylandensemble.org/donate. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Steven, we good?
I think we're great. I'm going to say thank you and good night.
Good night, everybody.